So, hello and welcome to the Two Ryans, One Planet podcast. This podcast is set up so we can tell you more about the conservation stories that are close to our hearts and to give you more information about what you can do in your daily life to help in terms of the climate crisis, the biodiversity crisis, and any other issues facing wildlife and the environment today. So, to start off with, we'll do some introductions to find out who the two Ryans actually are. So, the first one up is Ryan Parker. So, Ryan, tell us who you are, mate.
Hi, so I'm a wildlife conservationist and animal behaviorist. As you can see, I'm doing very, very well. This is Bellatrix. I've been into conservation ever since I can remember, and now I run an organisation where I rescue animals from wildlife to exotic animals, anything from big cats, owls, and snakes, to giving educational talks, wildlife presenting, setting up safaris. But the main thing, I'm just here to get you excited about wildlife conservation, teach everyday people the small little things they can do to make a difference and make it exciting. There's a lot of doom and gloom out there, which we do have to share. But it's a dark world, but I want to get people excited about it, fall in love with wildlife and the natural world, because in that way, they'll actually want to save it. I want to show them the beauty I see, make them experience what I experience. I want to get people out into Africa, Asia, out in the British countryside, out in Yellowstone. Like, there's a beautiful world out there. It's worth saving. And so once you finish listening to this podcast or watching it, put down your phone and go outside. That's what we're trying to do here. Is save the world, but using a positive way.
Amazing, wonderful. And then obviously you've got myself, which is Ryan Eddowes. So I'm a zoologist and herpetologist. And herpetology is the study of reptiles and amphibians. So that's what I specialise in. My background sort of in the educational side of things. I've got over 10 years worth of experience working with wildlife and working in conservation in various different ways, including working in places like the West Midlands Safari Park, Greater Manor Zoo, all sorts of places like that. A bit like Ryan, I've got the passion to sort of want to get people out there, but from my side, I've got disabilities, so I have a club foot, and I have an amputation on my right leg as well. So my side of things is to get people with hidden or physical disabilities, doesn't matter what you've got, to try and get you back out into nature and enjoy it, because the natural world is open to everyone. It doesn't matter what background you're from, what ethnicity, what gender, or what difficulties you have in life. The natural world is always there for you. So I think I speak for me and Ryan. We both want to do this podcast to make life a little bit more enjoyable. There is a lot of stuff on the media that's very sort of, as Ryan said, doom and gloom, but we want to show you the positive sides of things as well, because if you don't know the positives, you're always going to hear the negatives, and that's not what we're here to do. So to start off with, Ryan, how did you get inspired to become a conservationist?
That is a really good question. It's really hard to answer. I don't think there was anything in particular what inspired me. I started out as a baby, like most people. I started out as a baby.
I often did, yeah.
No, I asked my mother a couple of years ago what it was, like when, because as far as back as I can remember, I was just obsessed with wildlife. Watching the classic natural world documentaries, watching animals outside. But she said when I was still in the pram, there's somewhere with animals, and I was hooked. And it's since then. But growing up in the 90s, before the internet, the word conservation, you never heard of it. And even in documentaries, you never really saw conservation on documentaries. It was just about the ecosystem and the actual what the animals do. So there was no word for conservation for me. I was just told you're either a zookeeper or a vet. Neither of those I wanted to do. I passed out in a vet surgery, so that's not for me. I woke up on the floor after the dog got castrated, and I felt the pain of every man. But growing up, I was always learning. I was like a 5-year-old could tell the difference between a crocodile and an alligator. And then, like in the late 90s, this Australian guy pops up, Steve Irwin, and he was more than a presenter. He when you watched him, he was actually doing conservation work. He wasn't just saying this is a saltwater crocodile that can grow over 20 feet. He was capturing these animals out in the wild. He was doing conservation work, which is something was very rarely seen. Luckily now on documentaries, you get to see the conservation work. When you watch like Planet Earth, they're showing you this work going on in Bolivia or Patagonia, wherever it is. So he gave a name to what I wanted to do. He didn't get me into conservation, but when you're a child and you don't have the great vocabulary, actually my vocabulary is pretty much the same as I was about 5 years old. I was like, that's what I want to do. Like, I want to get people excited about wildlife. I want to be out in nature. Like, where I'm most happiest is being outside. Like, I just have to be out there. And the one good thing I'm good at, I'd say, apart from my interactions with animals, is getting people excited about wildlife. So it was through that. Obviously, there's lots of conservation out there who inspire me. You see what they do. You got David Attenborough, you got Steve Bradshaw, but also the actual conservationists themselves. A great thing about the internet now, you got LinkedIn. I got to meet you this way and inspired by what you do, but meet people from Australia, Asia, Africa, South America, and see the amazing things they do. So while I was never inspired to do conservation, I get inspired every day by these people. It's like just to keep fighting for wildlife. How about yourself? Because you said herpetology. That's quite a niche.
Yeah. So although I specialise in herpetology, I've not really done a lot to do with reptiles and amphibians. Really, it's more of a generalisation of things, because obviously being a zoologist, you study everything to do with the natural world. But I think I always have my passions like herpetology and entomology. I love my insects. I mean, I've got so many different things behind me with like bugs and resins and all sorts of things like that. So I think growing up, I remember just playing in the back garden, picking up slugs and snails and wondering the different variations of things that I found in the garden. So like the difference between a slug and a snail. It's that sort of curiosity I had as a child that I think sort of got me going. And then my grandparents were very passionate about helping me with my passions at the time. So they bought me pretty much every single book, every single documentary DVD on Sir David Attenborough. He was a complete inspiration to me, and I got to meet him in 2014, which was a fantastic. Now, I don't normally cry at things, but I cried when I met Sir David Attenborough. So I don't know if you'll remember me for that. I don't know, but since then I've wrote to him a couple of times and he's wrote back, and it's just been a massive inspiration on my side to be able to talk to my hero basically and go into something that he's helped a lot with. I mean, through his documentaries, he's created so many people and so many opportunities to bring people into conservation like ourselves as well, and like Steve Irwin and Steve Batchel as well. But for me, after sort of playing in the garden, figuring out with the slugs and snails, when I was at school, I was actually told that there's no opportunities in my area, because I live in a city. I live in Wolverhampton. There's no real opportunities to go into wildlife. I mean, at the time, a bit like you, Ryan, I didn't know what conservation was at the time. So I always thought it was just a zookeeper role or a veterinary role. And that wasn't available here. You had to go and travel. So the nearest safari park here is obviously West Midlands. The nearest zoo is Dudley Zoo. So you still got to travel to get there. It's not like I can go down the street and it's there. So when I wanted to study it, there was no courses at the time. I couldn't find anything at the time to go and study it until I found a place called Rodbaston in South Staffordshire, where they did an animal care management course. And I went on that, did that. But just before that, if I go back a little bit more, with my condition of club feet, which is a condition that turns your feet inwards and downwards, I was told by medical experts that I couldn't work with animals, because going from 6 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night working with animals, I'd be in a lot of pain and discomfort. So not only was I being told by the educational side, but from the medical side, they would say, nope, no wildlife. And in the centre, I was just like, I have no idea what my life's going to go now, what I want to do and stuff like that. So it was a very confusing time. But as you doing this podcast, as you know now, I ignored that advice. I went on to have my college degree in animal care. And then I went on to Bangor University, where I studied my zoology with herpetology course. And I got to travel the world, to Africa twice. I went to Corfu once. I went to Tenerife twice. And that's where I found my real passion for wildlife filmmaking and presenting. So I took, I had a little camera and I went off and filmed all sorts of things. And started putting little videos together and sharing them on the internet and got some feedback. And it started to become quite a new thing for me. And I was the sort of the only person in my course at the time who had that sort of niche thing. So I was quite unique at the time doing that. And for me, obviously, with practical conservation is amazing. But I think going out in the field and filming it and documenting everything can bring it into the homes of people that sometimes can't get into Africa or America or wherever wildlife is, and you can experience it from home. I think that's a very, very beautiful thing to have, and that's what inspired me the most, is to film and document, but also be out in the field and make a difference in conservation. But what I was going to ask, because it's quite strange, I was talking to you about this yesterday, that you was inspired mainly by Steve Irwin and I was inspired mainly by Sir David. They've got two completely different presenting styles, but they have still made a massive impact globally, and brought a lot of people in. So for you, I've obviously seen your videos and a lot of people have seen your stuff. You're very wild, you're very out there, you're very enthusiastic in the camera's face. You want to try, show the animals and do that. Whereas I'm very much like Sir David, and you stand back, observe, and sort of document and explain the behaviour. So do you think we've sort of embodied them people, do you think?
Yeah, kind of. Like I've watched your videos when we first started speaking. I think the main thing is, like, I get a lot of people who, I don't know what nicknames you get. I get quite a lot of names. I've had Dr. Doolittle, Ace Ventura, Attenborough, Tarzan.
Yeah.
But I get a lot of people say, "Oh, you remind me of Steve Irwin." Or I think you wrote it when you done an interview with me a couple of years ago. Yeah. But it's a massive honour to be related to David Attenborough or to Steve Irwin. There's only one David Attenborough and there's only one Steve Irwin. I'm not trying to be Steve Irwin.
No.
I'm not trying to be David Attenborough. I take things from them because I really believe if you want to be good at something, go and learn from the best. And that's regardless of anything you want to do in life, and with wildlife and doing this, you never stop learning. Mm-hmm. But no, I think with me, there's elements I want to get from both of them. I want to be versatile in my presenting. I love being out there and being in your face about it. But if I need to take a step back, be more quiet, it'll be a struggle, but I can do it. But I want to be me. If I can make a success of this, I don't want people to say, "Are you the next Attenborough? Are you the next Steve Irwin?" It's not a James Bond role. They're real people, So I want to be known for being Ryan Parker. And so I think staying true to yourself. I mean, we kind of see this on a lot of people in the same sort of circles from doing what we do. You see a lot of people trying to either imitate Sir David Attenborough, they try and imitate Steve Irwin. And I just want to be me. You might see me in some of my videos. I might be out there in khaki because let's admit, it's pretty practical when you're in like 30 degrees heat and it's really hot and it's dusty and, animals do rip your clothes. I don't want to be wearing something too nice. But at the same time, you might see me in pineapple shorts and a Hawaiian shirt because that's me. That's my personality, and I'm comfortable in that. So I think there's certain elements from Steve Irwin I think I've taken. And
what's like the biggest value you've took from him? What's the ultimate message you've took from Steve?
I love presenting. And I love putting on a show. I'll say I'm a bit of a showman, and I know he was as well. But he wasn't a presenter going into wildlife conservation. He was a conservationist going into presenting, and I'm not a presenter. I can't stand them do that auto cue stuff. Everything you've watched of me, I've just know in my head. Maybe if it's certain species, I might have to just go and quickly research just to make sure I've got correct facts. But it's there just for me to spitball out. So it's raw. But when the cameras are not rolling, I'm actually doing conservation work. I'm out there rescuing animals. I'm at 11 o'clock at night on a Friday when everyone else is partying, being with their loved ones, rescuing a pigeon from somebody's house, or going out rescuing snakes from people's homes. So I'm actually doing the conservation work behind the cameras and it's not rolling. So it's, although I might be performing on camera because I want to bring the excitement, I know I need to bring the energy and I will bring that to the next level. That's me off camera as well. I'm continuously doing that. And I think that's something what Steve Irwin was doing. That's how, he got brought the cameras to him because of who he was. And his main message was always conservation, but getting people involved. It was very interactive. Like he really took you there and showed you the work that goes into it. And I think that's something now is really great. When you watch like Planet Earth or Blue Planet, where it is, they have that last 10 minutes at the end. And you see like the camera crew, but you also see the conservationists. And I think that's something now what in any documentaries I try and make is show the important conservation work.
I mean, that's quite brand new to documentaries, really, isn't it? That last sort of 10, 15 minutes exploring behind the scenes, behind the cameras, and meeting the conservationists and the filmmakers and stuff like that, and just seeing how they've got that shot. I mean, the one that always sticks with me, and it's so impressive how, I mean, it was one chap and he went to film snow leopards, and he went for practically 6 months. He had to miss his family's Christmas because he had to dedicate all his time to set up camera traps along the snow leopards route. But to get that footage and to show the inclusive behaviour of snow leopards is so amazing. And again, it's those sort of moments that stick with you for years, and it's what pushes you and motivates you to go into these sort of things, protect those types of species. I mean, we know how endangered snow leopards are, but showing how elusive they are just highlights the dangers that's happening to their habitat and to them as a species, isn't it?
Yeah, really. I think also with that is anybody who does want to get into conservation as a life. I get quite a lot of messages now on Instagram or LinkedIn. People asking for their kids or people changing new careers. First of all, conservation, I feel is a great message you said earlier. It's without discrimination. It doesn't matter on your ethnicity, your culture, who you pray to, don't pray to, your sexuality or gender. But the main thing is you don't have to be that guy out in the Himalayas doing the snow leopards. You don't have to be what me and you've done and do the study. I mean, if you look at LinkedIn for jobs with conservation, a lot of it is data analysts,
GIS and stuff like that.
It's things what I can't comprehend. I can't do that office work. But anyone can be a conservationist. But if you really want to be the person out in the wild doing that, I mean, there's a lot of sacrificing. You're going to be missing out on things, like you said, you're missing out on birthdays and stuff like that. Like you're not going to be able. You can try, but you're not going to be able to have that maybe normal relationship what anyone else might have. You might, and you're in remote areas as well where there's not going to be a lack of signal. And the thing, there is no glory. Like what you might watch me and you do on screen or any other wildlife presenter, you think, oh, that's great, that's amazing. They're out in beautiful nature, they've got the stars above them, they're seeing beautiful animals. I'm like, yes, but it's also, it can be lonely. You can be on your own. And like I said, I was rescuing a pigeon at 11 o'clock at night on a Friday. I come back to an empty apartment and it's just me and Bellatrix. So I think it's really important to show what those people are doing and let people know there are other options in the conservation world apart from sleeping in a tent for 6 months, or whatever. I mean, for me, it's hard to do as well. So
I mean, to be fair, when I was teaching at Rodbaston and the West Midlands Safari Park to the students, I think a lot of them had this sort of notion that, you know, they're going to be handling bunny rabbits and playing with animals all the time. And sort of, if you go out into the field of conservation, you're going to see an elephant every single day. And it's, although we want more people to get into conservation because we need people there to make that difference, it's highlighting the sort of, it's not always going to be the best thing in the world. Like you say, you're going to be standing in the rain, waiting for like an animal to come out the bush, or you're going to be standing there with a camera for like 6 months to get some footage. Although it'd be amazing to be abroad and to be in nature and stuff like that, that part's going to be fantastic. But you've got to understand it's going to be very, very difficult to do stuff like this. But as you've said, it's not just data analysts. There's so many different pathways in conservation now. I mean, you can be a zoologist, a mammologist, a herpetologist, entomologist. You know, you can be a professor, a lecturer, a researcher, a filmmaker, a documentary producer. You can be literally anything now. And I think when I was teaching at Rodbaston, it wasn't just being an animal carer or zookeeper or veterinarian. You can go and do all of these things. I think once I sort of did my first lesson on that, it sort of opened people's eyes a little bit more, thinking, I could go and do this, I could go and do that. I don't have to just be a zookeeper, which obviously is a fantastic job to have. Very hard work, but it's very rewarding when you get to see things like rhinos being born. I mean, I remember seeing the baby rhino born at the safari park. I mean, rhinos are my absolute favourite animal in the world. And I will admit, I did cry. Not only did I see when the baby rhino was born, but when I went to Africa the first time and I saw a rhino with its baby just trotting across the savannah, I was in floods of tears. And everyone was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I was like, "Yes, I'm fine. I'm fine." It's just, it's so amazing to see such a, you know, and it's such an endangered species like the rhino, and you know, they're just so beautiful to look at. I just think they look so prehistoric sometimes, but again, you don't always get to work with your favorite animals as well. You know, like if you do like rhinos, it's so hard to get into that. But if you've got the passion for it and you've got the dedication, keep on going. Never ever give up in the world of conservation, because as soon as you give up, nothing will happen. You've just got to keep on going. Do you agree with that, Ryan? You got just got to keep on going. Don't matter how many knocks you have, you've got to keep on going.
Yeah, I very much agree. Like how I sit, there's a lot. Like I said, but there's a lot of bad, and a lot of people do bad things to wildlife, and you know, they don't take a day off. So
no, 365 days a year.
Yeah, and the thing is, like you said, there's lots of different avenues. I mean, you could be an English teacher. I mean, you can go and teach English to people, you know, or construction worker, and you don't have to have it. If you know, if you love wildlife, you love animals, you don't have to actually work in that sector. You can still make a difference every day. I mean, I always say there's as much merit as moving a snail out of a cycle path as there is like rescuing a lion from a poacher's snare. I mean, it's really great. You know, when you said about the rhinos, it reminded me I was in Lake Nakuru in Kenya, and they got lots of southern white rhinos there. And to protect them, you see the rangers walking around with AK-47s. And I'm like, that's cool. Like, that's something they should show on documentaries. And then have you heard of Black Mambas, the all-women anti-poaching patrol team? And I think that's great. And removing poacher snares, that's
it's
all
just
fantastic.
It's just simple acts, isn't it? Just simple acts.
Yeah, and even, you know, if you think of like the fur industry, everything I think is connected to conservation. And if you think of like the fur industry now, or leather industry, like, I'm not gonna be one of those people who say, "Oh no, a fur jacket or leather jacket, it looks hideous," because it's not. Because that's why they sold so many. It looks great. I know I'd look great in a leather jacket, but I have fake leather jackets which now just look as good as real leather, just as durable as well. So there's always alternatives. You see, you know, even choosing which chocolate bar you have can make a difference as well. Taking the stairs instead of taking the lift or elevator, wherever you want to say, how you say it, or walking to your local shop rather than driving. There's loads of different things.
I think there was one quote try and remember how it was said, but it was like, you know, with a plastic straw, you know, if I use a plastic straw, it says 1 billion people, but if that one individual stops using a plastic straw, then, you know, he tells his friend, he tells his school, he tells his community, and so on and so forth. That 1 billion people would stop using plastic straws, and then you'd never need to use it. And that works in all sorts of other ways, like the fur trade. If you don't buy it, there's no demand from the companies to make it, and then there's no reason for them to go and kill the animals for the fur, and it ends. It just stops. But I think a lot of people believe that they don't have that power to make the difference. But we have. Every single person, doesn't matter if, like you say, if you mean construction or you're an English teacher, you have got that power to make a whole, you know, so much difference in the world just by not using something or not buying something. It's about research. It's about knowing what's going on in the world, and I think having that knowledge, you can make a difference.
I really agree. Like, there's so many different examples where it can just apply to everyday life. If you take a look, you know, you get somebody goes on holiday to one of the Caribbean islands, you're sitting on your beach in your swimsuit, turning golden brown or red, depending on your genetics. You're drinking some beer or wine and having some nachos, and you see somebody walking past with a squirrel monkey in a chain and a macaw. And everyone's like, yeah, I want to get a selfie. It looks cool. Yeah, it does. I'd love a selfie with a squirrel monkey. It's cool. But that squirrel monkey is out you're under that little umbrella shade. When you get hot, you go out in the sea. And then after 2 weeks of you roasting, you're back to your life. That squirrel monkey every single day is out in 33 degrees heat. It's probably living in a small cage. And they're taking the animals out of the wild to do that. So if you want to look at it from a care point of view, if you had the empathy to think of what that animal goes through and how much of a hard life it has, and let's admit the people who are doing that are probably not on a great amount of money doing that with the monkeys. So those monkeys are not getting the best nutritional diet as well. They're probably not going to live a long life. It's also dangerous to you. People always think of, you know, there's our logo for this is me with a Komodo dragon, right? Very, very dangerous animal, could kill me. I put myself in that position. But yeah, smaller animals, squirrel monkeys and small monkeys can hurt you as well. And I'm pretty sure your insurance on holiday would be void once you get bitten by a squirrel monkey.
Probably would be, yeah.
But the message would be is when you're on that beach and somebody comes and says, oh, do you want a picture with the squirrel monkey or the iguana or whatever it is? They're like, no, don't do it, because if everybody on that line of beach said no, he's not going to be going on that beach anymore. So if every week the new tourists fly in when the other ones leave and they all say no, they're basically boycotting. That's how it makes a difference. That's small things like that.
But I think with that as well, I think a lot of people will be thinking, watching this now, is, well, what will happen to that chap? And again, conservation is not just animals. Conservation is also helping the community, the people that do these things. So for him, example, he doesn't have to do that as a job to earn an income. He can go and help with the conservation of those squirrel monkeys, for example. You know, you got this eco-tourism stuff like now, which is monitored, so you can go and see like mountain gorillas and stuff like that in a safe manner, and that money goes straight back into conservation. So although we are sort of in that example preventing that chap from or woman from showing that spider monkey for people to have selfies with it, if everyone said no, obviously yes, he would be out of business or she would be out of business, but there's other opportunities for him to go into conservation and ecotourism to earn that income for his family or her family at that time as well. So conservation is not just wildlife, it's communities, it's indigenous people, it's whole cities. In fact, it's a complete round thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, conservation, it's about the whole infrastructure, and when, you know, where we are in the world, it's very easy for us to say you shouldn't be doing that. I mean, poaching, you know, I don't want to see any animal get hurt, or even not poaching, people shooting a hyena or elephant, where if you're living alongside these dangerous animals, Like if elephants come in and raid your crops, how are you going to feed your family? I can totally understand someone shooting an elephant or shooting a hyena, what might kill their children, or a leopard or a cheetah, what's going to eat your goat. And where these people, they don't have the access to like a benefit income or medicine. So I can really understand that. So I think the important thing is to start asking questions why that person is doing that. And it's like you said, the ecotourism is such great benefit for conservation. But when I'm out there, and it's not just my guide who's earning money from doing it, or when I was doing the mountain gorilla climbing, you had the guide and you had someone else with a gun to keep you safe. But it's also all the hotel staff, the maids and the butlers, the people working in the gift shop, the Uber drivers. It's completely everybody, even people picking strawberries for you for your food, or it's like everything. Butchers, people who make vacuum cleaners, the people who work in the airport and stand. All of that. That's because it's because people like us, we want to go on a safari. We pay a lot of money to go out there, but for that to happen, you need the tarmackers on the road. You need the hotel staff. You might have excursions to go and do like on the rapids and do rafting. That person is not actually working in conservation. He's just there telling you, right, start paddling. But he's got a job because I wanted to go and see mountain gorillas. And he's like, oh, by the way, if you want to, you can go rafting. I'm like, yeah, that's great. So that's how conservation just benefits everybody. And one great one, when I was in Uganda with the mountain gorillas, where I was staying, is beautiful, the mountains and the mist, and going to see the gorillas. And I walked down to the local village, and there's a lady there, and she had all these handcrafted like gifts, and the carpenter made like one of those hiking things, really beautiful. But she just set up her own charity for a school for kids, and relies completely on donations for school books and school clothing and doing excursions and that. Completely cut off from almost the rest of the world, in the middle of the mountains in Burundi, in the forest. But she's completely relying on people going to see the mountain gorillas, because those people going to see the mountain gorillas, the day before, they go into that little village to have a look around, and they turn up at her shop, and then they're like, oh, we can donate, and the money's going to those kids. So two different charities kind of working in a symbiotic relationship. And it's completely right. Conservation is about the people as well. That's why my organization is called Save the Animals, Save the World, because if you're saving the animals, you're
saving the world. Exactly. Because what I was going to say is, I was going to say to you and ask, what is conservation to you? But I think in one word to describe conservation, in my belief, and don't know if it's the same with you, it's community, it's togetherness, it's everyone and everything coming together in one situation to help a certain cause or a certain belief or certain objective. It's that community, like you say. It could be literally anyone, but bringing everyone together to make that difference.
Yeah, I think it is really that. And it can just change the world. It's very, very simple. I mean, when we hear things on the news about conservation, trying to save the planet from overheating and things like that, and it's very, very expensive, and and science is great, but there's very simple things what everyone can do, and it's exciting as well. That's the thing as well. It's just by you doing simple things. I mean, if you want to go out whale watching, that's funding conservation. That's saving whales' lives. By us going on safari, providing those jobs, those people are no longer turning to become poachers. They're now becoming safari guides. So I think it's all of that, and it's a great. You get to be part of it. It's immersive, and it's fun. Like, who doesn't want to? If you're on safari and you don't feel something, there's something wrong with your heart. Like you said, you cried when you saw the rhino.
Exactly.
I didn't cry. There was a little bit of hay fever that day. But I felt it. Like when I was on the truck and I heard the other people like watching the animals. I heard people like teary and sniffles when we saw the cheetah and the lions and the elephants and rhinos. So you really get to feel something. So you're making a difference and you're enjoying it as well. That's what will make it exciting, because
enjoyable.
Yeah, you got we're fighting for something, and I'm sure we can get everyone else fighting for it as well. But you have to understand what you're fighting for. You'll fight for what you love, and for me, that's what conservation is.
So, what would you say the biggest issues are to conservation in terms of not only people sort of getting into it, so what's the sort of barriers, but what are the biggest things that conservation needs to help change and make a difference to?
I would. There's loads.
But what's the main ones?
I would say got money is such a big thing, and working with different political agendas. That's one thing I've learned from working with different people. So many political agendas and backhanders. As soon as money comes into it, and obviously we can't say any names. I'm not worth anything to be sued anyway, but I don't want to risk it. But there's a lot of conservation and charities out there where are doing it, taking backhanders, letting animals, from the ivory trade, things like that as well. There's a lot of charitable organisations out there saying that conservation and actually taking part in big game hunting. So I think money and greed. I mean, there's a lot of people out there probably started off pure with great intentions, and then they started to get the money coming in, and suddenly greed takes over, and it changes. Yeah, it changes their mind. And I think it's a very dangerous thing to have that much power. But I think negativity. There's so many people when I'm trying to make it exciting, and they just want to put you down what you're doing. But they're like, oh, what's the point? What's the point? What's the point? I'm like, hope is the greatest thing we can have to give to people. That's why we're doing this. And also people, I think, having a closed mind. I think we was talking about this yesterday. It's really great. We can go out there and talk about lions and cheetahs and bears, dolphins, and I love them. They're so cute. Yeah, I'll do something for them. But as soon as I say hyenas, like, no, they're ugly. Or I say sharks or crocodiles, and they're monsters and monsters. And that's why we're doing this. If we can go out and make a documentary now on crocodiles, they're amazing animals. They're around, let's start from before the dinosaurs are even around. There's over 20 species of crocodilian. Most are critically endangered. Most people just think crocodile, alligator. They don't know you've got your Philippines crocodile, your Mauritius crocodile, your Mugger crocodile, saltwater crocodile, freshwater crocodile, West African crocodile, and so many more. And then you've got the Chinese alligator, which nobody's ever heard of. But it's also showing how amazing they are. Like people think we are food. People do get eaten by crocodiles. We're part of the food chain. But if you show how amazing they are, and you've got the most powerful bite force in the animal kingdom, just incredible power and take down such powerful prey. I mean, they hunt sharks, large mammals as well. But then they're also the most caring of the jaws. So when the babies are born in the eggs, you hear them calling, they're like, like that, and they're calling the mother. And this big, giant dinosaur walks over, and she scoops them up in her mouth. The most powerful bite force in the world, and has the babies in there. She could easily just crush them to death.
It's just so gentle. They're just so gentle.
Exactly.
Even though how they like with the eggs, how they turn the eggs and stuff like that, just so gentle.
Exactly that. They're not monsters. They're caring for the baby, and they take them to a creche. They should make like a little creche, like a little pool where the babies will go. And sometimes you see the baby sitting on the mum's head and things like that. But as soon as you get somewhere near that mother with the eggs or with the babies, like she's not being mean. Like
no, she's just protecting the young.
And she's talking to you. She's actually saying,
"Go away." Communicating with you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and same with snakes. When you see a cobra, you always see a cobra in a film, right? It's always sitting over its hood up, like, it's been evil. It's trying, like, it's saying, look at me, I'm a cobra. Like, I will hurt you. Or a rattlesnake when it's doing that's basically, they're very well camouflaged. They're out there in the bush. And if you've got somebody between 5 foot to 6'4", weighing between 40 to 100 kilos with boots on, it's going to crush their head. I'll bite someone and someone's going to stand on my head. But them going like that, that's not saying I'm a rattlesnake, I'm mean. That's saying, hey, I'm over here. I'm letting you know where I am. Please don't come near me. Because when that rattlesnake actually wants to hunt, the tail's not going. Shh, it's being quiet. It's camouflaged, an ambush predator. And whether it's, let's say, it's a rabbit going past and it strikes, it's not doing the tail. That tail's just to let you know, stay away. It's communication. Even sharks communicate with you.
I think you hit a good point with like media. So although I was big up media, just like with Sir David and natural history documentaries, to bring all that information into the home, the other side of it, from like people like Hollywood and other film industries like that, the way they depict animals, sometimes like snakes, crocodiles, sharks especially. I mean, the amount of films I've seen recently on like Netflix and stuff to do with shark attacks and shark bites and all this sort of stuff, it puts such a negative view and puts more fear into people watching these things. So that's why people, are so afraid to go into the ocean, because they just think there's going to be a shark there, or if they go through a forest, they're going to walk across a snake and stuff like that. And I think that's such a massive negative thing for people with conservation, is because they think, oh, if I go into sort of this area, I'm going to be attacked, I'm going to be killed, blah 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 blah. I mean, like people like Steve Baxwell do so many films, natural history films, on how amazing but also how powerful sharks are. But then I feel sometimes when they put a film out, like what's it called, Beneath the Sea 8 or something, or Below the Sea, or whatever it's called, I can't remember what it's called. And I think that just takes everything away from that documentary, then, just completely ruins the educational side of things and the knowledge part of it. And how amazing these species are, how delicate they are, how much of a mother they can be as well, and how much they can protect each other. And I just feel like that all gets knocked away when these sort of films come out, which I think is a great shame.
I agree with you, and I don't think it's just the films as well. I think it's like online media, when you see
media in general, really.
Yeah, but in Britain, we're an island. We're surrounded by water, and there's lots of sharks around the UK as well. We've got blue sharks, port beagles. But anytime a shark comes past, especially like a basking shark, which is just a big open mouth, just taking in zooplankton, people are like, oh, it's Jaws, monsters, we're being stalked. I'm like, you're not. And then it's really frustrating. And you can't blame people, because, I mean, things like snakes and spiders, these animals, they're very powerful. They can hurt us. It's inherited to us. We were once wild animals ourselves, and we would have been killed by wild animals. So I can understand that there's a rational thought behind being killed by snakes. A lot of people every year are killed by snakes and spider kills and various other animals. But I think on average, it's about 4 people a year killed by sharks. So you're more likely to be killed falling out of your bed, putting your trousers on and tripping up and hitting your head. You're more likely to die sitting on the toilet than getting killed by a shark if you go in the water. Exactly. You're more killed by cattle. And it is really frustrating. And the thing is, if someone's just able to sit and listen, and if someone says, I'm happy, I'll go in the ocean with a great white shark outside the cage, and I want to get as close as possible. And if that shark for some reason bites me, that's on me. It's not the shark. But if someone says, I get you, Ryan, I understand they're not monsters, but I'm still not getting in the water, I'm like, that's fine. That's fine. But just
it's the understanding of it, isn't it?
Exactly that. Yeah. If someone doesn't want to do it, but stop listening to that media side of it, because sharks are amazing. There's about 10 different species that can pose a threat to us. So quite a few can, even like small ones still can bite you. But there's sharks about that big, little horned sharks. You got some amazing sharks out there, like the Greenland shark, which can live up to about 450 years old. I mean, that's just remarkable.
Amazing.
But the sharks out there, what was swimming around when Darwin was on the HMS Beagle.
Exactly.
That's
and I think that's a very beautiful thing. I wish people would know more like that and remember stuff like that, because, like I say, 450 years. Just imagine being alive for 450 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's
amazing.
It's like the Dorian Gray of the animal world. Like, it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
but the media, it really makes it difficult. And I try to approach it like in a silly way, like I said, but dying on the toilet, things like that. But it's also very logical. If you look at a classic beach, whether you're in Tenerife, you're in Australia, or you're in California, or you're in the Caribbean, those beaches are packed with people, right? And even our best Olympic swimmers, we're no match compared to a shark. There's no match. If you look at what a great white or tiger shark eats, like fur seals. Have you seen a fur seal swim and how agile they are? And the sharks are trying to get them. Most of the time, the sharks don't actually get them.
Yeah.
If a shark really had a taste for human blood, and they are smart animals, they're calculating. They're not just mindless killers. They're very, very smart. They would be on those beaches and it would be a slaughter. You just be going through those shallows, bite, because it'd be so easy. Sharks don't have a taste for us. They don't really want to hunt us. And a lot of people, if you've been on a beach somewhere like that, there's probably a good chance that a large shark has been close to you. You don't even know it. Great whites like sunbathing.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I read a study ages ago. I think this was when I was at university, and I think he was an Australian researcher, and he was researching shark attacks and how frequent they are and stuff like that. And apparently, according to one case, was a woman just going into the shallows of the water, not even into the deep end, just paddling in the water. And this was in Australia, obviously, but she could see a shark going past her in the shallows, and she screamed, and that was classed as a shark attack. How is that classed as a shark attack? It's done nothing to you. It's just swimming past you. But like you say, if sharks had that taste or that initiative to go through us as a species, I'm going to be inundated with food because there's so many people going into the shores and going into the ocean. So, but they don't. They don't want us. They want the fur seals. They want other things. They want proper meat, not human meat.
It's a really great example. Like if you go on YouTube to watch it, in Alcatraz, there's a tourist just taking a video of Alcatraz, and a great white shark breaches out the water right next to Alcatraz. So outside of San Francisco, you've got an area called the Red Triangle, where a lot of prey for great whites are, where you've got elephant seals, Californian sea lions, and lots of other marine mammals. So it attracts a lot of great whites, and they swim underneath the Golden Gate Bridge when the tide comes in with the salt water. And a lot of time they're swimming around Alcatraz. Calm down. They're swimming around Alcatraz, and now there's a swim-a-thon for charity from Alcatraz to San Francisco Bay, with hundreds of people swimming across that water to the bay. And there's a good chance that great whites will swim underneath them. And if a great white were to take them, there's no chance. When you look at a great white from above, they're dark, and the ocean water beneath is dark, so they're very well camouflaged. And why they have that white body is when they're above and have the white body and the sunlight's coming through, you can't see them. They're amazingly adapt. And the way they
shoot as penguins. Same as penguins.
Yeah. It's just, animals are amazing. If they wanted to hurt you, I mean, but at the same time, don't just start jumping in the water of a tiger shark, because you will get hurt, regardless of the animal. They're trained professionals. There's great videos on Instagram and TikTok of people swimming with tiger sharks, and you see them do the shark comes close, they do that. They are trained professionals. I wouldn't attempt that. I've never swum with a tiger shark. I swim with sharks, and I'm here.
I'm here too. I've been with great whites. I'm still here.
But we've trained professionals, right? We didn't just go up to the great white and be like, "Hey, how you doing?"
No.
And same like with the Komodo dragon. When you see me with that Komodo dragon, I'm with somebody who's trained. In with a giraffe, and that's the thing as well. A lot of people, they lack that respect. They'll be like, "Oh, sharks, dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. Crocodiles, dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. Tigers, dangerous, dangerous." I'm with a giraffe, and here's the difference. When I got the photo of the Komodo dragon, everyone, "You're so brave." I'm not brave because I'm not scared, but you're so. I wouldn't attempt that. I wouldn't attempt that. It's a dangerous animal there. But I'm with a giraffe. They're like, it's so cute. I mean, standing toe to toe with this giraffe, there's no barrier. That giraffe wanted to kick me,
or swing its neck.
Yeah,
you're done.
And even if it's been habituated and it's been, I wouldn't say domesticated, but all it takes is for like an aeroplane to fly over, might scare it, or a gunshot somewhere, and that animal will just freak out. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
with Bellatrix, I go running with her, and
Mm-hmm.
she saw her first ever mobility scooter with the they have like the rain thing over, and she
Mm-hmm.
completely freaked, and I was like dragging like that, and that's a dog what lives with me, knows me,
Yeah.
sleeps next to me.
Yeah.
So giraffes, elephants, these are all dangerous animals. So
Mm-hmm.
have that respect. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
don't stop treating sharks and hyenas in a certain way. Treat
Mm-hmm.
all wild animals the same way, that they're all
Yeah.
dangerous. Even hamsters and gerbils can really, really
Oh,
hurt you.
definitely.
Parrots.
I think that's our sort of responsibility. If we are on camera and presenting, we need to prove and show that we are responsible people. Although yes, we've got that passion and we want to get in there and show you what these animals can do, what their adaptations are, what their evolution has been like. But we have to show respect to these animals. We can't just do something and expect nothing to happen after.
Yeah.
So we have that responsibility while we're on camera to do that. But you did it earlier. You did the impression of the crocodile babies. So what I was going to ask is, do you have any other wild animal noises you can do for us?
I've got a whole library.
The only one I can do, and it's only because I was when I was doing the VIP stuff at the safari park, and I tried to talk to one of the tigers, and he did actually do it back. But then every time I did it since, it never did it. So I think he got fed up with it. But it's the try and do it now. Is a ooh, ooh. It's that mumbling noise they produce.
I love that. Was really good. Can you do the chuck?
Right. That's it. The chuck.
Yeah.
Ooh, ooh,
And then
ooh.
I do that little like that. I love.
I can't do that. I can't roll my arse. I can't do that.
I love the cats make such a like when you watch the movies, there's always like a large roar or something. What the animal doesn't actually make that noise.
Like Bellatrix now.
Yeah.
He's joining in on the animal impressions.
Yeah, but she makes some strange noises I've never heard before. Cheetahs is one I love.
Okay,
so they're not a big cat, and they can't roar, but I just love how they chirp. They just do that. Ow, ow.
Oh yeah, of course I do. Yeah,
It's great. The one what really got me, I can't believe the girl went on a date with me after I did it. But I was really drunk, and I'd done a sea lion, but not the not that. It was. Have you heard them when they do that?
Yeah.
I love that noise. It's the way the face makes. There's like about to they're like a wet dog about to like really go for It's just it's like the Exorcist. As you can see, it's working well on the Dalmatian. I love it. Hyena noises are great. I think I scared a few people when we was out on safari and the hyenas come into the camp, and then you just hear them.
Oh yeah.
And it's me calling them as well, and then they start coming back to you.
Oh, dear, that's good. I like that. So what I was going to ask as well, so because obviously we've been in conservation for a long time, we've done various different things, and I think it is a very, as we've discussed already, it's such a hard industry to get into. And then once you're in conservation, it's even harder if you want to go into wildlife media as well. I mean, I've been trying for years and years to try and get a documentary out there, or to try and get on some sort of blue chip documentary. Either as a presenter or even as a researcher. Again, I think it comes down to location, because Bristol, for example, is the home of wildlife filmmaking. Everything is pretty much produced in Bristol or London. That's the place. But again, it's distance. The BBC Natural History Unit, which I got to go to once, and it's just you just get this. I can't explain the feeling. I don't know if you've ever been on stage and you got like a standing ovation, and you get that empowerment. When I walk through the doors of the Natural History Museum, knowing about the history, knowing that like Sir Dave Attenborough's made all these documentaries pretty much there as well, and like they produce such amazing films and stuff like that. And I've spoken to so many people that have worked there. So when I walked in and just stood in the reception, I couldn't move. I was like stuck. The security guy had to come over to me and just say like, are you okay, sir? And I was just like, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm good. Because I was just so mesmerised by the building because of its history and stuff. But what's the key things that someone watching this now or thinking about going into conservation? What's the key skills and abilities they need to stand out more than anything? Because we all know we've got very similar things, like you need a degree or you need experience with wildlife in various ways. But what's the unique skills that we haven't really thought of that people can go for?
I think it depends what sort of area in conservation you want to do. I mean, if you want to do something like data and work in an office, doing
Yeah.
admin roles or doing marketing, sales and marketing, like I said, it's very different. So I can't really say but to do what we're doing, wildlife presenting or helping animals,
Mhm.
it's having that passion. And I enjoyed your Rocky speech earlier about not giving up.
Yeah.
I thought it was great, but I think tenacity as well. Like if going for what Rocky said again, the eye of the tiger, having that hunger,
Mhm.
which I think we both have. And one of the things I learned, I used to be an actor back in the day, and I was. I wasn't very good, and I was just constantly like hassling people for film roles. I was like, "Give me a part, give me some lines." And I was the first one on film set. Who wants to get naked? Who wants to get punched in the face? Who wants to run through a bomb? I'll do it. I'll do it. And I think that's transferable into the conservation world, where you just have that tenacity because you're going to get rejected so much.
Mhm.
And that was a nice thing about Sir David Attenborough. Like you said, he wrote to you,
Mhm.
and he's written to me and gave me advice as well. But you don't get a lot of that in the conservation world. There's a lot of people just ignore you, will reject you, and it's very, very hard. Um, and it's not like your normal job.
Mhm.
Like your family probably won't understand it. Your friends won't understand it. People are like, oh, I said that's a little bit different. Like when I went to school careers when I was 15, 16, I said, what do you want to do? Conservation. And then I tried to explain it. It's like, oh, don't you want to be a lawyer instead? And I think it's a lot of shame. I think a lot of people who, when you're younger, as a child or teenager, and you've got that dream to do it, society
Mhm.
comes in and tells you you've got to be in a certain way, you've got to live in a certain way.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think just having that tenacity and having the fire, and like you said, when you do get knocked down, it's about standing up and just
Mhm.
never stopping. I think that's the greatest thing is that tenacity because
Mhm.
you are going to have hard times.
Mhm.
And even when you make it successful doing conservation, uh, when I do my rescues for the wildlife or exotic pets, I see a lot of horrible things, and it's
Mhm.
heartbreaking and it's stressful. Um, but at the same time, you can have these really beautiful, rewarding moments. I
Mhm.
rescued a turtle. It come from a really horrible place. I picked it up from somebody's. They just gave it to me for their kitchen window, like it was like a drive-through. And I took it to Fripp's farm, and she had like a big lake
Mhm.
where we took some turtles before. And this turtle lived in a small little tank like that. And it's a musk turtle, and it's not the wilds of North America, but it went into a big lake and is swimming. There's like insects for it to eat. It had other turtles as well it can socialize with. And there was those little beautiful moments. Yeah,
Mhm.
see my first cheetah, uh, you know, having that interaction with a large 11-foot shark coming close to me, beautiful moments.
Mhm.
Uh, but it's the small moments, it's the achievements, like you said, having that standing ovation. It's if you get into this and you want to be and you're a glory hunter,
Mhm.
this is
Not for
not
you.
it's not the job for you. You'll have a few moments of glory,
Mhm.
and it does feel nice when you have a lot of negativity pushed on you. I get a lot of people trying to bait me with big game hunting photos and stuff like that. It is really hard. And when you do get someone say, "Oh, that's amazing," or they call me, "Oh, you're that animal man," or and then you start getting known for it, like that's a great little moment, or someone saying well done, or you know, but if you're wanting to come out home every day and you want to you want to have that superhero welcome, or you want to be like a footballer who's just scored the World Cup, it's not for you. And I think even any wildlife presenter who has made it really well, whether it was Steve Irwin, David Attenborough, Steve Bradshaw, any of them, they're
more humble.
They're all humble, but what you don't see is, you know, you have an hour documentary, and even you have that 10 minutes behind the scene. You don't see these remote parts of the world. You don't see the flights going there, the time away from the family. They're not staying in 5-star hotels a lot of the time. You're out in the middle of nowhere. I think we both done the wild camping, the showering out in the bush. It's fun, but I'm pretty sure if you're doing that for 3 months, it is really, really hard. So you have to make the choice, and it's little for no money. Even being a wildlife presenter, you know, even the famous ones, I don't know how much money they make, but they're not Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise money. This is wildlife. It's not a money thing. So it's having that tenacity and making sure it's something you want to do. If that's not the life for you and you can't stick to that, you can still make a difference. If you really want to make a part, like I said, there's different things you can do. If you're working in marketing and sales, I'm sure you can go and get a job at one of the large corporations what does conservation, and you'll be paid a good salary, and you get to come home and have a family and have your dinner and watch me and you on TV doing our documentaries and going, I was going for that, but I didn't fancy the ice cold showers and the 20-hour days and being bitten and stuff like that. So I
think for me it's very similar to what you've said, but I think it's the values and things you should have is being grounded, being humble, not taking the glory. And I think it's also making sure that you are nice to every single person you meet in the industry. Because if you're not, my granddad was a great advocate for saying this. He said, like, it doesn't matter where you go in life, even if you get to the top of your field, at some point you might have to come back down that ladder. And if you've upset someone down that ladder, you're gonna drop. You know what I mean? So you've got to be kind, you've got to be humble, but don't do it in a way that looks like you're trying, but just be natural with it. Just be, because any opportunity that I get, I'm so grateful for it. Like I say thank you so many times on emails and to people that I'm doing things with, because I'm just so happy to have that opportunity and to put my sort of skills and knowledge and experience into it to make that little bit more difference. But the story that sticks with me, I can't remember who told it me now, but it was basically this film crew. It wasn't NASA history, but it's film crew going on this ship, and I think it was the lead presenter went and shook hands with every single person on that ship. But one of his other fellow filmmakers just didn't do anything. He just sat and drank and did nothing. And they all went down to the bottom of the ship to put all their stuff away. And the presenter said hello to everyone, shook their hands to everyone. And this other chap, this one chap who at the time was a cook, stuck his hand out to the filmmaker. Said, welcome on board, and he didn't shake his hand. He just didn't want to know, because he was like, "Oh, you're only the cook. Who cares?" But the presenter said, "Thank you, and I'm grateful for coming on board." But what they didn't know later that day, when they were all sitting around the table waiting for the food, is the chap who come out, who was the cook earlier, was the captain of the ship. And straight away the chap was like, "Oh my god, I've just upset the captain without even knowing it's the captain." So, not saying everyone's going to be trying to catch you out in life, but just being kind, being honest, being nice to people. It's not hard to do that. It's not. You don't have to go out your way. You don't have to do a lot of things to do that. But offering a hand here and there, helping someone carry their bags, or helping do, take some emails off someone so they get less, hectic with stuff. it's just simple things as you're going through life in general, not just conservation, but life in general. But in terms of conservation, the amount of people we've probably spoken to on LinkedIn, it's got to be in the thousands. It's got to be. But you just got to be nice to every single one, because you just never know. At some point, they might have an opportunity down the line and think, "Oh, I remember Ryan Parker, or I remember Ryan Eddowes. They mentioned this before, and it was really nice to me, or they did this for me." And then somehow you get on. The amount of times I've had opportunities given me because of that. But it shouldn't change who you are. Like you say, even if you did become to the status of like Steve Irwin or Attenborough or people like that, don't lose who you are and where you've come from. Obviously we could talk about other skills like having a drone license and having a boat license and all these things, which will make you stand out from anyone else. But not everyone has the skills to talk to people, to be the first person you shake the hand for, or to say hello. Ryan's being attacked.
Lots of kisses.
But it's being grounded, it's being humble, it's being kind to people, and I think that's the key thing for being in conservation. And what would be your last message for this podcast, Ryan? What would be your end message to everyone?
I think what you just said, it was really brilliant. Kindness, I think, for anything. And I know you said about you don't know who you're speaking to. Ouch, that hurts. Mm-hmm. But I think just kindness without expecting anything, just unconditional kindness or unconditional love. I think the problem now I find at the moment is a lot of people do things expecting something in return, regardless if it's a relationship or friendship. I've done this for you, so you should do this for me. I hate that. Yeah, like it's
like a constant. You need to constantly be doing something for me all the time, and it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, I think if people are just generally kind and a constant kindness, that will help conservation as well, because if people are kind and happy with each other, they're more likely to make a difference in the world. Like you said, if you see someone struggling to carry something, something like that, or you see people struggling, or just seeing how somebody's day is. You see someone struggling to cross the road and the car's coming, and go and help that person, or you find a pigeon in the road, like shoo it on. That is conservation as well. Conservation is conserving of something. So I think it's just what you said, just general kindness, opening doors for people. Like, you might open a door for someone and never see that person again, but that person,
that act is there. That act, they'll always remember that.
Yeah, and they might go for they might not be a person who's done that, or they could be somebody, they've woke up in the morning and then they're late for work. They've had a flat tire, or a dust cart's blocked them in, and they're really, really stroppy. I'm gonna be late, and they're going to the office, and suddenly you just like open the door for them, and they're like, "Oh, thanks." But then they might do for the next person, hold the door open for them, and that next person, and that just makes kindness better. Yeah,
kindness.
Like, as conservationists, like, we need money, like, to help animals. It's not much money in it. I rely solely on donations, but if you see me coming out of a big block of flats and I'm carrying a big vivarium because it's had a big boa in there, and as strong as I like to be, carrying down about 5 flights of stairs, this thing is heavy.
We need that bit of help.
If you see me, come and help me. That for me is just as I appreciate. It's just as much as somebody give me a wildlife documentary series.
I think so as well.
So kindness. I think I like that. I think you set off a great message there.
Thank you. And I think from this podcast, I think we've opened so many avenues to different topics that way we can go on to. So I think for the viewers now who've watched this, I think we'll do a few more of these type things, but we have more of a specific topic that we'll talk about. Like, for example, issues getting into conservation. Because, for example, there's loads of things like different types of contracts that are hard to get, or like it's always to do with seasonal stuff. And we'll give you a little bit more tailored advice on what you can do, like for example, having a second job or having a different source of income and stuff like that. And different projects that we've done as well, different opportunities that we've come across. And we'll go into a little bit more detail on that. But I think this has been a wonderful podcast so far, a great introduction to who the two Ryans are on our fantastic planet. And we'll see you again soon. So say goodbye, Ryan, and Matrix.
Thanks,
later, guys.
listening, everybody. Yeah. Thank you.
Take care. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye.